Hello my dear friends and welcome to another video. Today I finally had the time to do this much asked for video where I show you how I edit my photos. Now before I continue, I just want to let you know that I do have a subscription for Adobe Lightroom and Photoshop, and that's because I do photography on the side. So let's just get started on this. I'll tell more about it as I go. So the first thing I do is I put all of my images that I want to edit in a folder, and I put that all the images within that folder into Lightroom. And this is where I do my basic editing. And you are seeing here are all the photos that I wanted to edit for 2018. It was about 600 photos or so, and I edited all of the images really quickly. I'm showing you here that my basic thing that I do was I changed the color to make sure that I don't have like a fluorescent colored photo, and it's just a very simple. I don't take a lot of time to edit these photos because again, these are not my client photos. These are just my everyday photos. I know that some of them will not be perfect, and that's totally fine, but I just know that I do have the ability to kind of tweak them a little bit so that they're better. I do my basic exposure. I do like just basic sharpening them and all that stuff, and then I just copy and paste that very basic edit all for all of the photos, and then I just kind of go through a little bit and just see, okay, some ones are still a little bit darker. I want it to be lighter, and so I just kind of do that. But it's really quick. I spend at least like the most would be like 30 minutes for all of the 400 or so images that I decide to pull out. I don't know if I've already said it, but these are all the images from 2018 that I want to scrapbook. And so I just go through them and see which ones needs to be edited a little bit more. Uh, and then I also take out all of the doubles, all of like the ones that are blurry. I take them all out because I don't need to edit them. They're just pictures that are not going to go on my scrapbook. So these are the images from 2018 that I feel like are good enough for me to be able to scrapbook. And they're just various pictures. They could be every day, there could be events, they could be birthdays, holidays, just all the things that I feel like I want to scrapbook for that particular year. So now that I have all of the images that I want and I'm happy with the way that they look, then I will go ahead and I'm just showing you here that I was able to do 413 images for 2018. And then I'm going to just select all of that folder, and then I'm going to export that. And then I'm going to take that to Photoshop. Now, I don't know if I would definitely say that you need to have this subscription, but this is just what I do. And it's $10 a month for subscribing. And so if you think about that, that's $120 a year. So some people might think that that's a lot of money for editing pictures for scrapbooking, and maybe so. So I don't know if there's any free stuff out there. I used to have a Picasa, and that has been good too, but I just like the flexibility of Photoshop and also of Lightroom. So that's what I do. And I apologize if that is something that is, you have to pay. But again, I'm just showing you what I do. Okay, so now I'm going to take my images to Photoshop. And this is where I would put them in a 4x6 canvas so that they'll be ready for printing. So you're probably asking, why do I have to have two? I do all my editing in Lightroom because it's just faster. I could just copy and paste the edits that I do for one image to all of the other images. So if I have 400, I could easily do the edits for the 400 or so images in like, I don't know, like less than 10 minutes. And if I were to do that in Photoshop, it takes longer because I have to go through each and every image to do all of the edits. So if I'm like doing 5 basic edits for an image, I have to do that 5 exact edits in each one of them in Photoshop. Does that make sense? Anyway, so now I pulled out just a few, like 5 images to show you, because if I pull all 400, it will take a long time. And then I create a new canvas, which is a 4x6, and then I resize all of my images. So here I'm just showing you that I've kind of made a little mistake. So I usually just focus on the height and the width. So if I were to put 3 for this, because that's the width that I want, and then the height would be the height is 3 and then the width is 5.33. Now, I needed it to, so I'm showing you here that I wanted it to be 4, but then it'll be a 2.25 height. And it's okay for me for it to be a little wider than it to not be an exact 3. And then, so that's what I'm going to do for all these 5 images. I'm going to change the image size, and I'm only worrying about one of them because I want it to be proportioned. And these were images taken with my phone. And so sometimes, especially if I do it with my big camera, it's not going to be an exact 3x4, and that's totally fine. Again, as long as the height is fine for me, the width is fine the width is okay being bigger or longer, because I could just kind of crop on the sides of it. The one thing that I didn't notice when I was changing all of the sizes of this was the resolution. And you're going to see that it's going to be not an exact fit to my 4x6 frame because of the resolution. And I will see that problem a little later, and then I will fix it. So now I'm ready to put them into the 4x6 canvas. So I just select all, and then I just copy, and then I'm going to paste it on this one. So you're going to notice that it's going to be smaller. It's not going to fill the first half or the top half of my canvas. And I kind of wondered why that was, and so I'm going to figure it out a little bit. And you're going to see me kind of fuss with it a little bit more here. But you might be wondering why I do this, why I go through all this trouble to print them off. Now, I think it was about 3 years ago, I decided that I would just print all of my images as 4x6 so that I won't have to go through this trouble, because this actually takes me the longest. It takes me at least 2 days of working on this. Now, I don't work on it like 24 hours or 12 hours. I just kind of take 2 hours here and there. And that's a lot of time for some. And so that's why I haven't been able to videotape this, because it does take a long time. But the reason I do this is because when I was doing the 4x6, I just found that my photos were just too big. Even if I do a lot of double page layouts, I just couldn't fit them all in there. And so I found that if I do 3x4s, at least I could put, I have even put 14 photos on a double page layout because the images are smaller. And so I've decided that I will just go through this little kind of hard work in prepping the photos in the beginning so that I could get as many photos that I want to add to tell the story in my layout. So that's why I go through all this trouble. And you don't have to do this if you feel like, you don't take a lot of photos, or that you don't need to put 14 images or photos of an event or a trip or a holiday. So it's up to you. So now I'm showing you that I also kind of rotate the canvas to fit it with the image that I have. So if I have a vertical photo, I would rotate my canvas horizontally so I can put two. And then if I have horizontal photos, my canvas is vertical, so it'll fit two. So I just do that. And sometimes I even rotate the image. So like, for example, with this one, I finally figure out, I think about in this portion, that the resolution should be at 300 so that it will be a perfect 3 by 5, or at least the height, or sorry, the width would be perfect. So now I'm changing it to 300, and then I'm going to put the width to 3, and that would be the perfect size for me to put in my canvas. And so I'm going to hit OK, and then that will do it. So I have a 3 by 5.33333 image, and that's totally fine because as you can see, there's some negative space, or I should say white space on the top, and I'm just going to crop that. So I copy and pasted the image, and so now I have this perfect 3-inch width image that would go onto the left side of my canvas. So I can move that. And this is my favorite part about editing my images on Photoshop, is I can move that image up or down. When I had Picasa and I would do this trying to put two images in one canvas, it wouldn't let me move it. So if I've cut out a head on the top, that's just how it's going to be. So I didn't like that fact. So now I can move this other image and put that in the canvas, and it will fit perfectly on the right side. And then now I have two photos into one 4x6. Now you're asking, why don't I just print wallets, or why don't I just print them in smaller batches? So I get my prints from Shutterfly. I feel like for scrapbooking, that's the best one. I do have an account for WHCC for my client photos because they're a professional printer for photographers. But when it comes to printing my scrapbook pictures, I just do regular Shutterfly, and I found that their quality is good enough for me. I do make my prints matte because I just like that they're the matte style. They're not the glossy. I found that with glossy, I get my handprints on them, and then you can see the prints because they're the glossy kind. And so I do matte, and I prefer that. Now 4x6, if you order it through their app, it's free, but you do have to pay shipping. And so when I do my big batch of printing for 100 photos, it comes out to about $8. So that comes out to about 8 cents a print, or something like the most that I paid for a print was like 13 cents a print. So I feel like that's cheaper for me rather than getting it printed at home, because then I don't have to buy the ink. And so once I've cropped them and I've put them together in a canvas, then I create a new folder, and then I name that folder like photos ready for printing or something like that. And then I just rename each of my collage like 001, 002. It's very basic because all I need is that for them to be their own each individual file, because I'm going to use the same exact canvas, so I don't have to make 4x6 new 4x6 canvas every time. But I do rename them every time so that I will be able to save that particular grouping every single time. Does that make sense? I hope it does. I'm not very good at explaining this, but this is what I've been doing for, I don't even know, many, many years. And I did stop for a little bit because I did felt like it was just taking a lot of time to put this together. But again, 4x6 was just too big for me, and so I went with this one. So basically that's how I edit. I would do batches at a time, and I would listen to podcasts or listen to music or listen to audiobook while I'm doing this, because it doesn't really take a lot of my brain power to do this. But I would put them together there, and I would flatten the image so that they're there together, and that's one image. And then I would hit save or save as, and then I would just change the names as I go. So it was 001 for that first batch, so this one would be 002. And I do 3 numbers because I do anticipate to go over 100 for these photos or for these batches, because I have like 400 photos. There are also times where I want it to be smaller, and so I would go with 2 inch width or height, depending on what the orientation of the image is, and then I will be able to put 4 photos in a 4x6 layout, and that works for me, especially with travel photos, because I would take like maybe 30 images of a single travel theme, and sometimes I break that down to 2 double page layouts, but for the most part I like to keep them in just 1 double page, because I don't have a lot of real estate for my physical scrapbooks in my home, so the more photos I can fit in a layout, the better for me. So that's what I do. I either print my photos either 2x4 or 3x4. No, sorry, 2x3 or 3x4. And those are the only photo sizes that I do, or 4x6. There are times where I do want my image to just stay as 4x6, and then that's what I print it. But I rarely do 5x7. I rarely do anything bigger than that. If I do anything bigger than that, that's because I intend to maybe frame my photos first before I eventually put them in my scrapbook. So that is my way that I edit my photos for scrapbooking. If you have any questions, make sure that you leave it in the comment section below. And if you like these videos, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and hopefully I will give you, for my next video, it will be a project based video, because really I'm not good at explaining my process with editing and all that stuff, but I try. And I hope that this gives you a little bit of idea of how I get my photos ready for scrapbooking and for the fun stuff. This is a little bit tedious of work, but I do like to get this out of the way so that when I do have my pictures, I get my pictures in the mail, I'm just ready to go with printing. And also another thing, I do mostly print my photos colored, but sometimes I do them black and white, and I could just put them all in the same canvas. I can have one black and white photo and then one colored in the same canvas, and it's totally fine. I get them printed and the prints are just the right color for me. One last thing is because I do photography on the side with client photos, I do have my monitor calibrated. Again, that's something that maybe just a regular scrapbooker won't do, but I do that just because, again, this is the same computer that I use for printing photos for images. So that is one thing that I try to, the colors are something that is important to me, and so I do calibrate my monitor for that. Again, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys another day. Bye.